Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whenever this video is finding you. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashia Joy. I am a speculative fiction author pursuing self-publishing. So this is me documenting the journey of writing my novel, of going to be publishing it, being a conscious creative, a person who seeks to find fundamental truths about the universe, philosophy, spirituality, metaphysics, all of the things that have to do with humanity and who we are as people and how we can reach our greatest potential individually and as a collective, and also pursuing art as a spiritual path, because art is a spiritual path to higher consciousness, and I stand on that. And if that is your vibe, thank you for coming and being on this video with me. Today, as you've read in the title, I am going to be finishing my debut novel. Let's not get crazy. This is just the draft, the first draft of this novel in the next 60 days. Now, it's maybe like 64 days. Today I'm filming. It is Wednesday, June 4th, 2025. And I have it on this is my book Bible, my vision codex for it, where my outline and world building and concepts for this series, because it is a duology. As it is right now, it is a duology. And it is called Project Stock Market, and I'm looking at it. And so I have it on here that the first draft projected completion is August 8th, 2025. Now, this is a noir, urban fantasy, corporate psychological horror, and magic realism, surrealism, this psychological horror situation. And I don't know if I want to talk about the premise, because first of all, it might change, because I just fixed some things, like I'm fixing things currently in Act 1 and the first half of Act 2. I have 20 chapters already drafted, and that's about 60,000 words. It is honestly, I'm an overwriter. So some people have the problem where they're an underwriter. Well, I don't call it a problem, but a process. And so their first draft may be underwritten. I have the opposite issue where I overwrite things so that I can actually immerse myself in what I'm writing. So a lot of the descriptions of like the settings are overworked, and I'm very consciously aware of that. This is a first draft, and a lot of my creative writing professors have said the same thing. It is a thing that I am consciously aware of and I'm working on, but this is why this is a first draft. So I'm about Act 1 is about 45,000 words. Act 2 is 30,000 words. And I'm only 20 chapters in, and the midpoint is going to be at chapter 25, if that can give you an idea of that. And so it is severely overwritten, and that's neither here nor there. I had 20 chapters drafted, and from those 20 chapters, I'm going all the way back to chapter 1, because I fixed the stakes and I heightened her motivation, and I fixed the inciting incident because I clarified it, because there are things that I mentioned but I didn't clarify it, and that's not clarified through the rest of the things. And I physically couldn't focus. I physically could not focus because that part of the draft was bothering me so profusely that I kept thinking about it, and I kept making notes about it. And I was like, go back and change this when you do. But I'm like, but if I go back and change that when I revise, then I'm gonna have to go back and change all of this when I revise. But if I haven't written the rest of it, and I know this needs to be fixed, why wouldn't I just go back and fix that now, so that when I finish drafting, it all connects back to that, instead of having to go and draft all of this just to go back and fix that when I can clearly see the problem right now. So right now, as of today, I have 20 chapters drafted. For the last week and a half, I have been going through chapter 1. I started from chapter 1. I am now in chapter 4 of going back and fixing the inciting incident, fixing her motivations, upping the horror a bit. I'm probably gonna have to edit that some more, but upping the horror and the creepy and the anxiety and the dread in this dystopian world. It's not a dystopian, because dystopian for the genre is about overcoming the regime. Like, that's the point of the plot. It's like you start in the dystopian world and you somehow either overthrow it, work to overthrow it, fail, or succeed in said overthrowing or fixing or dismantling. And since that's not the point here, and I'll talk more about the inspiration for it in a second, but I was fixing like the world building and some things that I saw in the world building that started in the beginning but wasn't consistent to where I was in chapter 20. So once I go back and fix all of that, I'm going to finish drafting Act 2, get to the midpoint, because I'm only 5 chapters away from the midpoint. And also a lot of the things that we're getting up to the midpoint weren't making sense. They made sense, but they weren't connected and making sense, like the threads weren't threading together. And so from there, after I go back and fix it, I'm going to finish Act 3 and Act 4 because this is a 4-act book. And I also want to make sure I'm setting up the threads for the duology, because right now this stands as a duology. I have a very clear point of where I want this book to end. I knew this book, and then I know where I wanted the series to end. Well, I don't know what I want the ending for book 2 to be, but I do know what I want the plot to be in book 2. So I just haven't decided how I want that to end, and I'll decide that when I finish book 1. But as it stands right now, I know how I want book 1 to end. I know how I want book 2 to go, and so I needed to up that, and I just wasn't feeling it. So it was making the drafting, finishing the draft, very challenging when I was knowing that those things needed to be fixed. And so what inspired me is, if you know me, you don't, but hello, hi, like I said, I'm Ashia. One of my favorite TV shows of all time is Charmed. The old Charmed that came out in 1998 and ran for 8 seasons with our original girlies, Piper, Prue, Paige, Phoebe. That is my favorite series of all time. And I believe I might have been watching a craft video on YouTube, or I was doing something, but I do know that I was laying in my bed. I was thinking about something in that episode of Charmed where it was season 5. I don't remember the exact episode, but I know it was in season 5, the first half of season 5 to be specific. But it was an episode where Paige had a temp job, and she was going through this whole phase of not knowing who she was and who she wanted to be, and finding her identity and different things like that. And she had a boss who was killed by demons in that episode. During that episode, though, she finds out that he was killed by demons, not just because the demons were after him, but because that he had sold his soul to a soul broker in the demon market in order to get fame, success, and all of these other things that he wanted, and setting them up in a way so that he will always be successful, make money, and set up the rest of his family. And so when she interacted with him, she was trying to save him from this demon broker situation. Great. Now, from that, very specifically, like I see the scene in my head now, I was very intrigued by the idea of a soul broker. Like, I was like, that is so eerie for somebody to literally auction off your soul and have a contract for your soul that they sell to other demons and make a whole money and economy off of your literal soul. And so I was like, oh crap, what if the demons were in charge of the New York stock market? What if the demons controlled the stock exchange? But like, what if it's an insidious thing that is laid under the human stock market? And so the humans think that they're playing for money when money is just the human toy, and actually everything that the humans are doing with the money, with the capitalism, with the society, with the economics, and all of that stuff was actually, every move that they made the demons more economically, however the demon economy works in this world, more economically sound. And the demons are doing this because this is how they feed and how it stabilizes like the underworld. And the underworld has this whole market and architecture and this whole situation. And I was like, what if that's like an allegory? And so there's a lot of absurdities in it that I don't want to speak on yet, but a lot of different absurdities about the economy we live in, and how the demons like influence that. This is a whole like different world, where in this world some things that we take advantage of now like no longer even exist, and how the demons even manufacture different things in the world to get different emotional reactions and energetic reactions out of you, because that helps fuel their economy. And a whole lot of different things in my mind just started to go to work about it, especially because the world that we live in now, it just feels like so many things in the late stage capitalism way of being is so absurd to me. Like, it is so crazy. And I really wanted to explore, this is a dystopian world, but I wanted to explore the mechanisms that keep the systems that we despise in place. Like, why haven't they been destroyed yet? Why haven't they collapsed yet? Why do they still work? How are they maintained? In hindsight, they are maintained by us as the individuals. They are maintained by the people that buy into the dream. They are maintained by us believing and having ideas that we are free, that all we have to do is get to X, Y, and Z place and we'll have freedom. And not even really freedom, just comfort, survival. We'll be alive and we won't have to strive to just exist for the basics of things, but then we'll still be in this survival mode and we're never out of the survival mode, which feeds the system, because we cannot think beyond that level of consciousness. And so I wanted to explore a character that was clawing her way up. Even in the beginning, the sentence that I have is, we are not powerless because monsters rule us. We are powerless because we forgot we created them, and we keep feeding them even as they fester and grow. And that's like my theme of intent. Like, I have two of them. The second one is, we are just pawns clawing for power and becoming what we hate, all while thinking it's our idea and our dream. And that's what I wanted to explore in this, because I've seen myself do it, which is another reason, like on the long list of reasons why I burned down my business, of like, because of these fears, because of the desires, and all of our desires are pure, but they get corrupted and diluted and diluted even by the society that we live in and maintain, because of the dreams that they sell. And I wanted to explore how we are seduced by this. If we are seduced by this, how other people are not seduced by this, how other people live, and etc. How people, like, what is the way and how is this being maintained in different avenues, in different areas. Like, she even has a foil character that represents indifference. She has a foil character that represents a different path of rebellion. She has a foil character that represents just the seduction of her desires, which is actually her love interest, but it's love not for the sake of romance, but for the sake of seduction, the sake of being, the only word that's coming to my mind right now is seduce, because it's one of the continuous words that is put into this. It's like lush, gritty, seductive, haunting. That's the vibes. That's the vibes. Like, I have a basic generic mood board I could put right here, and I have the name of the series. I have the name of the first book at least, and I don't want to share it yet. Because I have a lot of just random brain dump material on like the themes and the hook and like the thesis. Like, I just was brain dumping a whole lot of stuff, because I am a plotter. I plot because I have to know what I'm doing. I have to know where I'm going. I have to know what the point is, even though a lot of it is still discovery, like the stakes, the motivations, the emotions, the character, personality, what she's obsessed with, how she's feeling, what she's willing to do, who she's connected to. All of those types of things are still being discovered as we're writing, and how they're coming about. But like, I realized that I wanted it to be first person point of view. This feels like this decaying jazz noir of the 1930s, of like the prohibition lushness and the jazz noir, like, and it's built on like this decaying world, but it still feels so lush and seductive while everything is falling apart, but it still looks like everything is growing and expanding. Like, it looks like things are getting better, it looks like things are evolving, when really that's not the case. And it's just so much a parallel of what's happening in the world right now, obviously, of what I'm always inspired by, and like the paralyzing fears and frustrations and angers and rage and violations and frustrations that I felt with everything. And I was like, oh, instead of like trying to get rid of it and heal it, I wanted to talk about this lie of survival. I wanted to talk about this myth of us being on our own individual path, and it's only us trying to fulfill our dreams, and that's only what matters, and that's how we're going to get to our ultimate spiritual growth. I have a lot of things that I want to explore, and I don't have a right answer, which also is like why so much of it is like discovery. I'm just looking through the notes of the Soul Codex of like, in this creating just this huge world building doc environment was so helpful because I can just always refer back to it. Also, I'm a thematic writer. Like, I write based on themes. I'm not somebody that comes up with the characters and all of those things first. Like, I see the world and I see the theme is usually what I see first. Like, I have a different project that is on the shelf right now because that's a little bit more complex and layered and I have to flush out more of that. But I saw the world, like, because that's going to be a dark academia novel, but it's set underwater / in the sky. And I saw the world and the island first. Like, I saw those things first. I saw literally the title of the book first, which is the whole encapsulating theme of the novel, which I don't want to share yet because I'm still going to do that after I do Project Stock Market, and so I don't want to share that yet. And then I have one more, which is a novella called Project Staged, and I saw the literal first theme, like first scene of the book, and then I saw the theme immediately after that, and I said, bet, if I don't have a theme for the story, I cannot write it physically, because I'm someone that uses it to express and explore. And so when I'm writing something, it is me exploring and having a conversation with consciousness, having a conversation with society, having a conversation with the characters. And I cannot be in conversation if I do not know the point of the conversation. If I do not know the conversation that we are having, then we're not having a conversation for me. And so I'm writing on theme first, and the themes of being seduced by desires that never belong to you, about conditioning, about identity, about who you think you have to be, about clawing to the top, about the struggle and fight for survival, about the desire to simply exist, about understanding what your desires actually are, about this deep hunger that we have, that this thing that we just feel hollow inside, and what we want to fill that with, and how easily we try to fill it with things that are available. It's because being that hollow is hard, and how it's so easy to be sold a dream when you're in that hollow state. And just exploring different things like that in like this absurd satire world that we live in. And this is in a reimagined New York City. It is in the year 2045. It is about in like the financial sector, which I've had to do a lot of research about because I am not a stockbroker. I am not any of those types of things. I kind of just made up some like the where she is. I made that position up, but I'm making it as real as possible. So I just have to do some research about how things operate, but that is my timeline. So right now, I want to finish the draft and editing up until chapter 20. That's where I am. Yeah, I finished chapter 20, so I'm in chapter 21. So I want to add these revisions, the stakes, the changes that I'm implementing by the end of next week. And so let me see my calendar. June 14th, I want to be through all of those revisions and add-ons, because I'm also in school. I'm giving myself a time, like I even have homework that I probably should do today, but it's not due until Sunday, so who knows? I'll probably start some, but I'm in school as well. I have a part-time job. I have 3 children. So through all of that, I think that I'm doing pretty well by having 20 chapters already drafted. And for a caveat to say pretty well, I mean, I started this book literally exactly a month ago. I started drafting May 2nd of 2025, and so I'm already 20 chapters in. So I think that's not bad. That's not bad, especially because I overwrite, and especially this is at about 65,000 words, probably more. I'm giving an estimate because I don't have my calculation, like my tracker in front of me right now, because I hand write the tracker of like what I did that day, how many words that came to, blah, 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 because I know I'm going to cut down so many words, but I want to have what the words are on the page so that when I do condense it, I know what I'm condensing and I know how I want it to feel. And so I'm going to use as many words as I need to use right now, and I can cut them out later. Duh. But what I am finding is that reworking words, when you have a lot of them, is a little bit of a challenge to condense them all. And so that will present a different challenge during revisions. And that's not something that I need to pay attention to right now. I think that's what we have for Project Stock Market, and I'm going to finish the draft in 60 days. And if I don't finish it in 60 days, okay. But that is my rough timeline, because I want to see how, not how quickly, but what is the estimate, what is the routine. If I'm going to be self-publishing, I don't want to be waiting years and years between publishing, because that's what traditional publishing is for. And I want to write new stories, I want to dive into deeper things, I want to explore more things. So I want to see how long it actually takes me to draft a novel when I'm pushing myself. I do not always need to work at this pace. I am actively right now knowing that I'm pushing myself to the limit. And so through pushing myself, I want to finish this by August 8th. I also just really like that date, 8-8, infinity, infinity, double infinity. Oh, do you remember the show Revenge? Oh, that's such a good show. I might talk about that, because that's such a good revenge story, and it's so hard to find revenge stories done well. From that, and that being said, I am going to obviously be talking more about Project Stock Market, vlogging about the process of writing Project Stock Market. I'm going to have a writing session later today after I do some homework, after I do some reading. Oh, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do a reading update. So right now I'm reading this collection of short stories called Friday Black, which I will link in the description box below. I am more than halfway through. I'm on the story called Zimmerland right now, which is it's a short story, and they're in like this place where I don't even know how to explain it. It's speculative fiction. And what's this one about? It's speculative fiction, and it's a debut of short stories that will haunt you, engage you, and invigorate you by placing ordinary characters in extraordinary situations. It reveals violence, injustice, painful absurdities that Black men and women contend with every day in this country. These stories explore urgent instances of racism and cultural unrest and ways that we fight for humanity in an unforgiving world. And they, like the Franken Five, reckons with brutal prejudice of the justice system. Zimmerland, which I'm reading right now, is we see a far too easy to believe imagining of racism as sport, and like they're having different rooms where they they pay to enact that they're killing people in order to like get that out of their system, so they're not doing it in public. It's so meta, it's so bizarre, and I'm so unsettled, but I love it because it's making me think about something in a different way. We love that. And so I suggest you read this. It's really a quick read, and it has so many different short stories. And I also have a class coming up about a short story creative workshop in the fall, and so I wanted to read more short form literature. So that's what I'm reading right now. That was a quick little reading update. That was all I have about Project Stock Market, I believe. If you want to follow along on this journey of me writing this debut novel and finishing it in 60 days, because I'm going to start vlogging me writing it every day and keep you updated on that front. And then I don't know how I'm going to schedule like the videos or how that's going to work, but I'm going to start doing that and documenting that process. And I'm really excited for it. Like, I'm really excited to see how the first draft is going to end. And I already know that there are things that I'm going to have to work on in revisions. Like, I have a whole revisions document already of like things that I think about later after chapters have already been written. I'm not going back and revising everything right now. I'm only right now going back and fixing Act 1 and Act 2 to correspond with the inciting incident that I clarified. I don't know if the word is. The story felt empty. Like every act is labeled like hollow something, like the title of the act, and that's how it felt. Hollow, empty, not fulfilling the emotional need that I needed it to fulfill. And I could not move forward knowing that that was missing. And so that's just me. If people like prescriptive writing advice is not like, nobody can tell you your process. And so I'm discovering my process of fully writing this manuscript. This is the first one that I'm going to finish. Like, I've started a different project and put it on the shelf. I have scenes from the novella project that I'm starting, and that's also on the shelf. And like I have different short stories that I finished for school and class and things like this. But this is my full first manuscript, and that's also why I'm pushing myself to finish it in 60 days. Because for me, I know that if I try to extend this out and let's like take my sweet little time with it, who knows when I'll actually finish it. And for me, I work better under pressure. I work better under deadlines, and I work better knowing that, oh no, I want this completed by X and X date, and me holding myself accountable to that actually will push me to finish it. And that's what works for me. And so that's why I'm documenting my process, because this is what's working for me thus far. And it might change. Who knows? This is just where we are right now as of Wednesday, June 4th, 2025. So if you made it this far in the video, leave a comment below. Make sure to like this video, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe if you want to stay. No, because you want to stay connected on this writing journey and see how this unfolds, and eventually buy and have the debut novel in your hands of Project Stock Market. Because when I finish the first draft, I'm going to share the premise, I'm going to share the actual title name, and then I'm going to start like reaching out to illustrators for like conceptually for the cover, because I think that also will really get me into the vibe for draft 2 and draft 3. Like I already have, I'm a very strategic person, so I already have like the revision plans. Like the first round of revisions is going to be for developmental character arcs types of things. The second round of revisions is going to be more like foreshadowing, making sure the character and emotional arc is there, and maybe some world building elements, and like really getting all those nitty gritty details to make sure this is a lived in world. And then the fourth round of edits will be strictly line editing, because when I get to line editing, I want to have all my focus on just changing the words that are there. I do not want to be adding in anything, because just no, line editing takes enough mental power as it is, other than trying to just get the story onto the page. And obviously every time I write, I want to make it sound as close to how I want it to sound as possible, and like working that muscle. But honestly, let's be for real, I'm going to have to polish the fuck out of the lines when I go back and edit. So thank you so much for watching this video. See you guys in my next one, and bye. Let's tune back in on August 8th, 2025 and see if we actually completed the goal and finished this book in 60 days. Technically 64, but we're just gonna say 60 days to make it sound punchier. All right, so oh, that was so great. Okay, so thank you so much. See you guys in my next video.